my name is Stephanie. Welcome to my YouTube channel where we talk about all things books and book adjacent. Today I am here with another reading vlog. I'm always thinking about different ways that I can smash my physical TBR and read all of these books that I've picked up because I'm so excited for them. And there are some books that I have that I just, for some reason in my gut, it is simply a feeling that they are going to be 5-star books. Some of them have a little more reason to that. Some of them are authors that I know that I've loved before, but some of them are straight up just a vibe. I just think and feel in my bones, this is going to be a 5-star book. And then it sits on the shelf and looks at me. It looks at me and it's like, hello, you said you were gonna love me. You said I was gonna be 5 stars and I'm just sitting here looking at you. So my books are starting to feel really offended. So I am going to finally read some of my 5-star predictions. The first book that comes to my mind when I think about a 5-star prediction for me, especially one that is based on simply vibes alone, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a sci-fi thriller. I went into it knowing a man wakes up in another life. I have read the first 100 pages of this book already, and I actually forced myself to stop. I could 100% have kept going, but I was like, no, you need to sit down and you need to film a clip, because I think that this 5-star prediction is actually going to be 5 stars, and I need a record of that. I need proof that I know myself. Okay, so I forced myself to stop reading this book, even though it was so good. I was eating it up. We start off with this man who's living a normal life with his wife and his son. He goes to run an errand and says he's going to come back with some groceries, but while he's on this errand, he gets abducted, drugged, and he wakes up in a laboratory having no idea what happened. He still has all of his memories from before, like that night. He wakes up and people are acknowledging him, his name, and like they know him, but they don't know what he's talking about when it comes to his wife and his kids and his whole life that he had. So he is basically trying to figure out what the F has happened to him. So that is where I am with that. Kind of a basic description. I don't want to give away too much because I think that's part of the fun of the story. I'm going to keep reading this and I will come back with another update as soon as I have one. We're trying something new. We're holding the camera, so we're gonna see how this goes. But I am 250 pages into Dark Matter. I'm probably gonna finish it up tonight because this book is so good. You know what I have to say? You know what I have to say? I was right. I was right. I'm getting that 5-star feeling. I'm getting it. I feel it. This book is really, really great. Sci-fi thriller is a perfect way to sum it up. I will say I love it. It is freaking me out, and that is the point of a thriller, so like, great, duh. But I don't know if my fragile psyche can completely handle the whole kind of I just really don't know if mentally I'm gonna be able to get past the premise of this book, because as of right now it feels very plausible that this could actually happen to me like tomorrow. So I am going to be thinking about that. I will in fact be thinking about it, but other than that, it is fantastic. I cannot wait to finish it up, and I will check in with you tomorrow, or yeah, I'll check in with you tomorrow once I have finished with my final thoughts. I am back with a couple of reading updates. First and foremost, I finished Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and yes, indeed, this book was 5 stars. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, no comments at this time. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do know her very well. Yes. Yes, the her I'm talking about is me. Yes. This is my first 5-star book of 2024, and it was a 5-star prediction. Safe to say I'm feeling myself, okay? I'm sorry. And I got a tripod, so I'm like extra feeling myself. This book was so good. This solidified my love for the idea of a sci-fi thriller, and I think the reason why I love that idea so much is because I do love movies like that. I just have never read a sci-fi thriller book. But oh my god, this was incredible. If you like movies like The Matrix or The Butterfly Effect or things along those lines, I highly, highly recommend this book. It was such a quick read. If I wasn't trying to space it out and I didn't have things that I had to do, I would have read this probably in like 2 shots because it was so good and so fast paced. I know I just keep saying it was good. It was good. It was good. But it was so quick. And this is just the type of storyline that to me personally is terrifying. Because to me, this feels about this close from it actually happening to me in real life right now. Like, ever since I finished this book, I have been consumed with thoughts of the fact that this is going to happen to me. You know, I don't want to give away too much of the plot of this book because I went in pretty much only knowing that it's a sci-fi thriller. That's it. I didn't know anything else. Now, if you look at the back of the book, it does give you a little bit of information. I would kind of personally skip this information that's on the back of the book because I do feel like it kind of spoils the journey for you. So I'm not going to go too deep into the plot. This is definitely more of like a mind-bending kind of psychological thriller more than it's going to be insanely action-packed, mind-bending, mind-fuckery, psyche damaging. 5 stars. Loved it. I have moved on to book 2. So I chose Yellowface by R.F. Kuang as my second 5-star prediction. I think that this is going to be 5 stars because the storyline sounds absolutely insane. It is about 2 authors, one of whom is Asian and one of whom is white. They are friends. Now, having read the first chapter, I'm going to say friends in quotes because this girl hates her. The Asian author dies in a freak accident and she's in the company of her friend, the white author. And the white author takes it upon herself to steal her dead friend's manuscript, edit it, and attempt to publish it as her own. And the book is about Asian history. Like, this was a lot of people's top book of 2023. It was one of those 2023 releases that I just kind of missed reading it in the same year that it came out, but that has been on my radar for a while. And in the last couple of weeks, I have seen multiple people read and review this book on their own channels, and most of them have absolutely loved it. And from the things that they said, I felt like I could love it too. I'm 58 pages into the book. I have listened to it on audio so far because I was cleaning my house and doing things, and the audiobook is amazing. The main character is, I mean, it goes beyond unlikable. She is terrible, and it's told from her point of view, first person. So you're just in this like fucked up person's head, and hearing her inner monologue is just like, it's jarring, honestly. But it's one of those insufferable main characters that make the book interesting, and that's why you want to read it and keep going, because this person is absolutely so fucked up that it's like, what is she going to do next? Not one of those main characters that's just like, ugh, like they suck and I hate reading from their point of view. No, reading from her point of view is very, very interesting. So that's where I'm at with Yellowface for now. I am going to work on editing this video, and then I am going to sit and probably read a little bit of it, listen to a little bit of it. The audiobook is only 8 hours long, so short. I actually think the book is only 320 pages. I'm liking it so far. It definitely is still in like the 5-star contender range. I am not 100% of like sold this is a 5-star book. Obviously, I'm only 58 pages in, hello, but nothing has happened that has made me want to deduct any stars, if that makes sense. We're off to a good start. The book is really, really good. I am going to keep reading it, and I will let you know how things start to unfold. New location unlocked. I'm in my car right now. I just finished getting my nails done and I'm about to go pick up some food, but I just wanted to check in to update on Yellowface because I'm about 200 pages into this book. I just listened to a bunch of it on audio while I was getting stuff done, and this book is so fantastic. It just really touches on the things that people, especially white people, can get away with in the publishing industry and really like just in general in life, how, you know, when people are questioned about things and they're automatically believed versus where like other people might not be. But this book, I think it's going to be another 5-star, which is absolutely insane that I have chosen to correct 5-star predictions. And I promise you, I'm not just doing this for the video. Like, these books are genuinely 5 stars and I'm so excited. This one, I still have 120 pages left, so who knows, things could change. But I'm really, really liking this. I think it is a must read for pretty much anybody because the social commentary that it makes is so important, but it's delivered in a very interesting, fast-paced, dynamic, like, format to read it in. And the main character is one of the worst people who I've ever read about, but reading from her point of view is absolutely wild. It just really shows to like take everything that you see on social media and kind of anywhere with a grain of salt, and just to like be really aware of your sources and what you're reading and where things are coming from. But the way that this important information is delivered is in such like a humorous but also type of storytelling that borders the line of almost like you're reading a thriller. There are cliffhangers in the story. There's new information that's introduced that's really shocking, and I'm just really loving it so far, and I just had to get on here and say that. Hi, welcome back. I wanted to give a quick update because I finished Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and there's absolutely no way that I wasn't giving this book 5 stars. So we have our second accurate 5-star prediction. I absolutely love this book. The way that this book took such important social commentary that so many people need to hear and wrapped it into a story that was so engaging, that was so easy to read and almost read like a thriller book, I think was so ingenious, because this is a way that you can really reach people who would not necessarily pick up a book, a nonfiction book that was a social commentary about these exact same issues that are in this book, but they might read the synopsis of this story and think like, oh, that sounds really interesting, and then on top of it, they're gaining that important knowledge. And so I think that this was brilliant. I think that it was incredibly well done. I actually ended up like going through and looking at like 1-star reviews of this book because I was so curious what people had to say about it that was negative. And yeah, I'm not surprised that a lot of people didn't really get what this book was trying to do, but I think it was so great. And I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I definitely want to pick up more from this author. R.F. Kuang has plenty of other popular books, so I am looking forward to reading more from her. But I have not chosen the next book for this video yet. Oh, the sun is shining on me. I pulled out 3 potentials that I think could be 5 stars, and I just don't know which one I want to read out of the 3. So we have these 3 books here. First book is Fly With Me by Andy Burke. This is a queer, I think fake dating romance about a nurse and a flight attendant. And Yes, that's what it is. And I have heard such great reviews about this book. This is a new, I think this is her debut novel. So yeah, this is like a good contender. I'm kind of in the mood to read a romance. So I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe this one. The other book that I had thought maybe was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I have not read a Riley Sager yet, but I have heard nothing but great reviews about this book. I just don't know if I'm in the mood to read a thriller right now, so I probably won't end up picking this one, but I do plan on reading this soon, and I might read it in a video of reading 2023 releases that I missed. The third book that I had picked out as a potential was The Measure by Nikki, and this is on my 24 books that I want to read in 2024, so we would be feeding two birds with one stone if I chose to read this. I can't get over that phrase. It makes me laugh every time. This is a like slightly dystopian book. I believe that people wake up one day and they have a package on their front step, and in the package is the age at which they're going to die. And like some people received this, but not everyone did. That sounds really, really interesting to me. And after reading Dark Matter, like, I don't know, I just want another mind-bending type of story. So I think I'm actually going to go with this one. I just realized the edges of this book are so weird. Do you see like these thick edges? Weird. Okay, yes, I think I'm going to go with The Measure by Nikki. This is exciting because I've had this book for so long and it just sounds so good. I got it off of Pango, so my copy is like very beat up, but that's okay. My books get well loved anyway. I think I'm going to jump into this and get started, and I will let you know what I end up thinking. It's the next day, and I read 107 pages of The Measure last night, and this book is interesting. So I know I said before that the premise was that some people got these boxes and that other people didn't, the boxes that say how long you're gonna live. I was wrong about that. So everyone 22 and older gets the boxes, and when you turn 22, you get a box, and they just like randomly appeared one day. Like, this is not set in a dystopian world yet. Like, this is the first strange thing to have happened, and it's not just a number that says how long that you're gonna live. It's a string, and the length of the string determines the length of your life. So it's really strange. There's no like hint so far as to like what type of force this has come from. We're following, I can't even keep track of the number of point POVs in this book. I think that there's like 8 or 9 POVs, and it's really hard to keep track of, especially in the beginning, because we'll get like one chapter, all different people. So it's like you've kind of forgotten about the person that you read 3 chapters ago, and I find myself when a new chapter starts having to go back and remind myself like, who is this person? You know, the premise is interesting. It brings into the question of like, is life predetermined or do you have free will? And it's really interesting, you know, these people with these short strings, are their actions going forward determined by the strings, or were they already going to happen and that's why the string is the length? It's really, you know, it's an interesting thing to think of, but the multiple point of views is throwing me off a little bit. The writing is good. The premise is interesting. Like I said, I'm really, really curious about how they are going to explain this ultimately. It's a good book so far. I am going to keep going. I'm only 30% of the way through, so I'm gonna read a good chunk more and then I will come back with another update. Okay, I need to just share a quick thought because I'm annoyed. I was reading this book, and as I was reading, I was like, wow, I like could not stop relating the book to COVID, especially like some of the language they use, like unprecedented times, things like that. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting, because I thought that this book was published in 2016. No, the book was published in 2022. So now it feels like we are just, and you know what's crazy too? Maybe is this book supposed to be a metaphor for COVID? Because it started in March of a year, and now they're in the summer, and it's been like X amount of time, and it's the same timeline as COVID. Was this book just supposed to be like a metaphor for fucking COVID? No offense, but like I just didn't know that. Now I'm gonna go do some research and see if that's what this book is supposed to be. Okay, so I've done my research, aka my Google search, and quoted by Nikki Erick was that it was not intended to be an allegory of COVID. She is glad that people are interpreting it that way. And there were a lot of people who were interpreting it that way. But it was all, I mean, listen, granted, I don't know when she wrote the book. She could have written the book when she was like 6 years old. I don't know if she wrote the book after the beginning of COVID, but it really just feels like an actual, I don't want to get into too many details of the plot, but like living through COVID was a spoiler for this book. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I am back for my final update because I finished The Measure this morning. I have thoughts about this book that I want to share. So my biggest thing about this book, and then I'll get into the rating. My biggest thing about this book is that I went into this book thinking that it was a dystopian novel, and that is not what this book is. I can make the comparison to The Midnight Library or Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I've read both of those books and I really liked those books. And those books were a metaphor for life. In The Midnight Library, we are not trying to figure out how this library came to be and why it's there. And in Before the Coffee Gets Cold, we're not trying to figure out the magic behind this coffee shop and why it exists. We're focusing on the characters and their stories, how they are handling their lives, and like it makes you reflect on your own life. That's what this book was. This is not a dystopian novel where you are trying to figure out why or where or who these strings came from. This is a book that focuses on characters, their journeys in dealing with this situation that's come up. It's not focused on anything about how or why the strings got there. So that's the first thing going in. Second thing is that this book follows a 2020 COVID timeline down to starting in March of a year and it goes through the course of 1 year, and then you get several years later at the end. But it felt to me like it followed certain things that happened during that time period very, very closely. So I was like a little bit disappointed in that, especially because I thought it was written and published way earlier than it was, and I think that would have made the comparison really interesting. But because it was published in 2022, it just felt like we were doing a COVID allegory and the strings were just a metaphor for COVID. So just know that. And the third thing about this book is that there are, I believe it was 8 POVs total. It was confusing to follow. There were also many side characters within all the different POVs, and I am normally someone who has like no problem remembering who's who and what's what. I was actually having a hard time remembering who is who, how people are connected, having to go back and look and like reading something and being like, wait, I didn't even remember that those two people knew each other, because it's just so many points of view and it changes so frequently. The chapters are so short and each chapter is a new point of view that it's just hard to keep track of. And because there were that many points of view, I found myself really only caring about 4 of them, and when the other ones would come up, I would just kind of be like, eh. And the 4 points of view that I did really care about were these 2 couples in the book, and they absolutely redeemed the book for me. Their romances were just so, I mean, very emotional and sad. I did tear up at the end of this book. That is one thing. Like, it was emotional at the end. These romances were so good. One of them was 2 women, and the other one was her sister and a guy, and it was just, yeah. That was the best part of the book by far. I mean, there was, like I said, I did tear up. There are things that were touching, that were very thought-provoking. I went in hoping for a dystopian novel, and because of that, I left very disappointed. And I do really enjoy books like The Midnight Library and When the Coffee Gets Cold. Those were both highly rated books for me. So I think if I realized that was the purpose of the book going into it, I would have rated it higher. But because of everything that I just mentioned kind of all wrapped up together, I am landing on a 3-star rating for this book. It was a little bit of a disappointment, but it certainly wasn't all bad. There were parts of it that I really liked, and I would recommend it with the context of knowing that this is a book that's like The Midnight Library or When the Coffee Gets Cold, or like a chicken soup for the soul type of book. And if you want something like that, I do think that this is good. However, those point of views were just a lot. And if you don't want to read something that's going to make you think a lot about 2020, definitely don't read this book, because it's pretty much all that I could think about the whole time. Yeah, those were my thoughts. Like I said, 3 stars in the end. And, you know, I think that I did okay, because to really wrap it all up, I had 2 correct 5-star predictions. Dark Matter and Yellowface both were 5 stars for me. I absolutely adored both of these books, especially Yellowface. I have not stopped thinking about since I read it. I've thought about it every day since I've read it. And Dark Matter, a few days have passed, a week has passed. I stand by it. Both of these books are definitely 5-star reads. And The Measure was a 3-star read, and that is okay. Not every book can be 5 stars, of course, but that is all that I have for this video. I hope that you enjoyed reading my 5-star predictions with me, and I will see you next time.